Good morning guys and welcome to another episode of Video Game News, the show bringing you the latest and the freshest from the world of video gaming. And it's not morning at all. My school schedule today was horrible, so I have to record now. But anyways, today we have just a few stories to go through, some of them pretty big, some of them not so happy, and some of them kind of interesting. So without any further ado, let's just hop right into it. And our first story, I'm sure you've already heard. It's not really that much of news at this point, as it's been talked about endlessly in the past few days. But the Telltale game studio that has brought us games such as The Walking Dead and The Wolf Among Us or Tales from the Borderlands, which I've even played here on the channel, are unfortunately shutting down, and apparently it's due to many problems that the studio has had, including financial as well as simply the workflow that was unsustainable as far as the employees have come to report. This came as a surprise to a lot of people, as the studio wasn't necessarily showing signs of struggling or being close to a closing, because they have purchased a huge amount of IPs in the past years and we're working on many projects at the same time. Now obviously what exactly has led to this step is difficult to trace back. Telltale has let off most of the employees, leaving only a 25-man strong skeleton crew, which will be supposedly working on finishing up their ties with the investors and with the stakeholders, which by extension mostly means a Minecraft story mode adaptation for Netflix. Gee, thanks Telltale. Anyways, as of today, The Walking Dead final season, which was also, for now, confirmed to not be finished, I'll get back to that later, is being pulled from the storefront, so if you didn't already have it, you'll find it pretty difficult to get it on Steam or anywhere else, as it is no longer possible to buy through there. Also, the storefront page on their official website now says coming soon instead of, well, available now. Now, it is true that there has been some talk in the past days of other companies picking up the games, so there might be a very tiny small chance we might yet end up seeing the ending episodes of The Walking Dead, or even perhaps the Netflix Stranger Things adaptation they were supposed to be working on, which Netflix has themselves come out to say they would like to continue their support on. This was, however, deemed to be rather improbable when asking the designers and the actors that played in these original pieces, so who knows, maybe we'll get to see them down the line. Now personally, I think it is a loss for sure that Telltale is being closed, and I definitely do feel bad for all the employees who are going to be losing their jobs on such a short notice. But let's be honest here, Telltale has only really ever had a few good hitting games, and most of the other ones have kind of blended into mediocrity, at least in my personal opinion, which in the end could have definitely been one of the reasons why they ran out of money or whatever happened and they were forced to let all the people go and eventually shut down. Now moving on from that, but still sticking with Telltale, we now have a little bit of footage that was leaked regarding what the Netflix Stranger Things Telltale adaptation could have looked like. Now obviously there is no way to verify these, and Telltale themselves have not officially confirmed whether these were from the game being in development or whether this is just some very impressive fan work. But if you're interested in seeing more of these, I will leave a link to a PC Gamer article down in the description below. And moving on from that, finally, if you're an owner of a Xbox One and you've been just itching to start playing with a mouse and a keyboard, well, you appear to be in luck, as Xbox and by extension Microsoft has confirmed that they will be starting support for a mouse and keyboard setup starting next month. Now officially speaking, Razer will be the company that will be providing a lot of the products that will be official Microsoft Xbox equipment. However, mostly any wired or wireless keyboard and mouse setup should probably work according to the current sources. Now Jason Ronald, the Xbox Director of Program Management, has wrote in an announcement that, quoting, "It's important to note that mouse and keyboard support for games is added on a title-by-title basis, entirely at developers' discretion. For all the other titles, nothing changes. Mouse and keyboard input is not enabled by default for games. Each development team knows their title best, and we support them in creating the right experience for their games as they see fit to ensure an optimal and fair gaming experience." Now I think this is a very good and interesting step, especially if you play shooters on the console, I can imagine that it can be helpful for you to pick up a mouse and keyboard setup, but as the statement just described there, not all the games are gonna have this support out of the box, so if your favorite game doesn't have it or isn't getting it yet, you might just have to wait a few months. And finally, for our fourth news story, a new short Death Stranding showcase trailer has been released just a few days ago, and with it, a new character that is most likely going to appear in the game, which is voiced by none other than Troy Baker. Now, as with most of the trailers about Death Stranding or the characters that appear in them, I think it's very difficult to pinpoint exactly what their role is going to be. However, one thing that I have to say is the character design looks extremely cool, and according to what happens in the trailer, possibly fairly hostile to the player. Now, as far as Troy Baker working with Kojima goes, it's not necessarily something new, as they have worked on games in the past before, and let's be honest, that guy is in every other game now, so I don't think it makes a surprise that he would be working on at least one voice in such a big blockbuster as this game is appearing to be. I'm personally one that's very much hyped for the release of Death Stranding, if for nothing else than finally being able to understand what the hell this freaking game is about, because it's been like 2 years since it was announced, I think in 2016, and we still have no freaking clue what the story is going to be about, or who these characters are supposed to represent. Anyways, if you guys have any opinions on that, make sure to leave it down in the comments, but I will leave you off with that news. Of course, there is always more happening out there, but I simply picked the stories that I figured you guys would be the most interested in. If you liked the video, maybe consider leaving a like, commenting, or subscribing. All of those would be very much appreciated. I want to wish you with the rest of the day, and I'm gonna see you in whatever next video I make. Bye bye.